Dave Johnston, who's the Vice President of Asset Protection and Retail Operations for the National Retail Foundation, as well as representatives from Nevada Organized Retail Crime Association, obviously the JCPenney staff gave me a beautiful tour, and of course our partners at Las Vegas Metro. Thank you all for being here. Listen, we just conducted a tour of the store, walked around sort of the threats and the risks every single day that retailers like JCPenney's deal with. And what it really means is it trickles down to increased costs for consumers ultimately. We understand some of the strategies that you look around at many of these retailers. Every retailer is making major investments to combat organized retail crime. And it puts us all in danger. It's not just shoplifting, it involves organized networks who, are very sophisticated at planning and resale operation. And it's a coordinated, large-scale criminal enterprise. It hurts consumers, taxpayers, businesses of all sizes, and especially here in Nevada, because our economy and our geography make us particularly vulnerable to retail theft networks. And it affects us all. It's everything from luxury spots on the Strip to our outlets to large chain retailers across the valley, and it impacts small businesses as well. And listen, our small businesses don't have the type of resources to have security teams like you'll see at the bigger retailers. They can't absorb these large losses, and they face higher insurance costs. And our proximity to other major states and transportation routes obviously makes Nevada and Las Vegas in particular a natural target. I'll let Jake and Mike from Nevada Orca get more into some of the local impacts, but the bottom line is we need to do a lot more to dismantle these networks. Our local, state, and local law enforcement are leading the way, have been doing an incredible job, but we need coordination on a federal level to investigate and prosecute these crimes, because these networks operate across jurisdictions. It involves not just theft within retail outlets, but supply chain theft as well. And they're using online platforms and financial schemes to move stolen goods, not just across the country, but internationally as well. And so this shouldn't be left up to our local police alone. And that's precisely why I reintroduced Combating Organized Retail Crime Act. This is a bicameral, bipartisan bill. Dave Joyce from Ohio is my co-sponsor. It's basically to get a handle on this type of crime. And Senator Catherine Cortez Masto and Chuck Grassley in the Senate have introduced the companion legislation in the Senate. And I'm really happy to report that we have made progress on the bill. In fact, just at the end of January, it received the House Judiciary Committee, marked it up, and passed the bill unanimously. And that should tell you something in this environment, how important this bill is, and that it transcends across parties and transcends across states. So it's one step closer to becoming law. And specifically, what does this legislation do? This one allows federal judges to order criminal forfeiture of stolen goods. It will designate organized retail crime as a federal offense. It will support law enforcement with the tools needed to crack down of the rise in merchandise theft, fraud, and other organized crimes against people and groups. Consider this, in Nevada alone, organized retail crime has caused a loss of estimated loss of $85 million in tax revenue alone, and over 400, almost close to $500 million in the amount of stolen goods. And that was in 2021. And as we know, these networks have become much, much more sophisticated. It affects consumers, it affects businesses, and I also want to say it affects employees, like the associates here. It's a safety issue, and many of them have pride in what they do. And watching someone walk in, obviously for their safety, they're not going to interfere but it really has an impact across the board. It costs over $1 billion in lost products, higher insurance. We were just inside, you know, the retailers are having to attach different things to their products to deter them being stolen. Those cost money too, and those costs ultimately get passed along. And this isn't, like I said, a financial issue, it's a public safety one. And just of last year, the National Retail Federation ranked this city number 6 in the most affected by retail crime. And so we're looking to establish an organized retail crime and supply chain crime coordination center. This would be within the Homeland Security investigations. It would serve as a central hub for retail crime investigations, including sharing intelligence and tracking the networks. Designating it as a federal crime will help equip investigators and prosecutors to combat these operations, and require the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice to report to Congress on this type of crime and enforcement. And like I said, these networks aren't just affecting our businesses, they're putting Americans, consumers at risk of violence and fraud. They have more widespread consequences for public safety because these organized groups often resell stolen goods to finance other illicit activities, including drug and human trafficking operations. So our bill will give law enforcement the tools they need to crack down on these very dangerous criminal operations. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Johnston, who is the Asset Protection and Retail Operations Director for the National Retail Foundation, or Federation. Sorry, David.
No worries. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for this much needed attention to an issue that is both a challenge here in Las Vegas and a growing national crisis. I want to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to Representative Lee. Her leadership and steadfast support for her constituents and her advocacy among her peers in Washington, D.C. has been instrumental in moving this conversation forward. As the nation's largest retail trade association, the National Retail Federation represents the full spectrum of American commerce, from iconic national brands like JCPenney to the independent businesses that anchor Main Street. Organized retail crime does not discriminate. It impacts every sector of the retail industry and touches every community, from our largest metropolitan centers to our smallest rural towns. The theft and violence that consumers regularly witness today are rarely cases of petty shoplifting or theft born out of personal need. They are coordinated, repeated thefts orchestrated by and often directed on behalf of sophisticated criminal groups. These thefts are meant for the profit of stolen goods. Though retailers' partnerships with law enforcement have been successful, we have learned that these retail theft groups are polycriminals, engaging in theft and fraud in our retail stores, across our supply chains, and even our online environments. These groups respect no city, county, or state boundaries. They operate wherever they find an opportunity to exploit the system. They use product and profits from stolen goods to fund more dangerous activities, including narcotics, illegal firearms, and human trafficking, both domestically and across our borders. The impact of ORC extends far beyond the retailer's bottom line. It directly threatens the safety of our employees, the security of our customers, and the overall shopping environment. These crimes drive up costs for everyday families and reduce the availability of essential goods. Furthermore, the losses incurred place an enormous strain on local businesses, leading to lost jobs and diminished tax revenue that would otherwise fund vital community services. To curtail this national threat, we must adopt a whole community approach. Retailers, community leaders, prosecutors, and law enforcement must work in lockstep. I want to specifically thank our Las Vegas law enforcement partners for their dedication and ongoing collaboration with our retail community. However, local efforts also require federal support. We need decisive legislative actions, such as the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, to provide law enforcement with the tools necessary to dismantle these organized criminal groups. On behalf of the retail industry, we are grateful to Representative Lee and the members of Congress who continue to champion this issue, and we aim to see its passage in this congressional session. Together, we can protect our retail industry, keep our shopping environment secure, and those within our community safe. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Jake Crank, who is the president of Nevada Orca.
Good morning. And thank you for being here. My name is Jay Crank, and I'm the president of the Nevada Organized Retail Crime Association, also known as NVORCA. NVORCA is a coalition of nearly 700 law enforcement professionals and retail investigators who work collaboratively together to identify, dismantle, and disrupt organized retail crime networks operating within Nevada and throughout the United States. Our membership includes local, state, and federal law enforcement partners alongside investigators representing retailers, both large and small, who see the impact of these crimes every single day. Let me be clear about something. Organized retail crime is not traditional shoplifting. This is not a parent taking groceries to feed their family. These are coordinated criminal syndicates stealing large volumes of property and moving that stolen property through organized fencing operations, often across multiple states and sometimes across the country. The impact of these groups goes far beyond the retail sector. Organized retail crime affects community safety, drives up costs for consumers, and threatens the economic health of our communities and our nation. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mike Rosa, NVORCA's Community Engagement and Outreach Board Member, who will speak more about the impact organized retail crime is having here in Nevada.
Thank you, Jake. And thank you, Congresswoman Susie Lee, for bringing attention to this issue and for allowing us the opportunity to speak about organized retail crime. Las Vegas now ranks alongside major national organized retail crime hotspots such as Philadelphia and the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, placing Nevada firmly among the jurisdictions most impacted by these criminal networks. This is significant because organized retail crime does not just affect individual stores. The crimes impact entire communities, including retail employees, consumers, and the local businesses that depend on safe and stable retail environments. Your parents, children, brothers, or sisters may see these crimes being committed, while attempting to enjoy a weekend shopping trip or the last-minute run to the grocery store. One of the biggest challenges investigators face is that organized retail crime rarely stays within a single jurisdiction. The criminal groups responsible for these thefts frequently operate across multiple states. Our Nevada investigators regularly see these criminal syndicates committing theft in one location, transporting that merchandise across state lines, and then fencing or redistributing the stolen product in another state entirely. In recent years, NVORCA members have helped investigate and dismantle multiple organized retail crime networks operating in Nevada that were directly connected to criminal activity in other states across the country. This reality highlights an important point. Organized retail crime is a national problem that requires coordinated national solutions. Stronger federal coordination, including legislation such as the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, would help improve intelligence sharing and allow investigators to more effectively track and disrupt these criminal enterprises wherever they operate. By improving collaboration between retailers and law enforcement across state lines, we can better protect our communities, our businesses, and the consumers who rely on them every day. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We'll open it up for questions. Yes.
Right now, different states have different felony thresholds when it comes to stealing items. So will your legislation create a standard
Yes.
across the board so all states?
Well, organized retail crime will be designated as a federal felony offense.
So like here in Nevada, and I believe,
And I'll let you.
Mardo's or Crime Bill we may have reduced that threshold. When it passed, we were at 1,200. So is there a
What is the threshold? 1,200. 1,200.
So we are still at 1,200.
Yeah.
So will that then be across the country, or because I know some other states are like.
What is the threshold in the bill?
The bill has a threshold of $5,000 minimum, but it involves interstate commerce. So as Representative Lee mentioned, it will create a federal larceny or a federal organized retail crime theft if goods are moved across state line at above a threshold of $5,000. That will help local, state, and federal law enforcement coordinate. So states here in Nevada or Los Angeles that are being plagued by shoplifting groups that are also operating in other states, they can be tried at a federal level.
So then there may be some gray area between our 1,200 here and then the federal at 5,000. So then if the criminals are smart enough to figure out how to do it below 5,000 but it's still above 1,200, how do you go about it that way?
You guys want to? I can talk about it from a federal perspective. That the goal of the bill is to go after the organizations, the networks that are driving the demand for the individuals here in Las Vegas and Nevada and other states to steal. So, we understand that states will have their local thresholds, they will have their local larceny laws, and those will go after what we've always had in the past. But what we're seeing now is a larger network of groups that are operating across borders. And that's where this federal coordination tied to the new federal laws would allow us to go after the organizations themselves.
The purpose of this bill is really to get to the organization level. You have individuals who are coming in and committing the crime. They are part of a bigger network, and so the purpose of the bill is to go after the biggest part of the network and really dismantle that.
Congresswoman, you mentioned a number from 2021 on how much this has impacted taxpayers. Do we have any more recent data on that?
I do not. Do we have any? That's the most recent data that I have.
Do we know if it stayed around there, if it's gone up?
Oh, I'm sure it's gone up.
I believe one of you said that you will see this kind of theft. You could come across this kind of theft if you go into a store. How can you recognize the difference between higher level threat versus just petty retail theft?
Yes, traditionally, a lot of the organized retail crime groups, they want to operate under anonymity and get in and out of the store without being seen. What we see historically and kind of what we've seen recently is a rise in violence. That old way of working isn't occurring any longer. They're getting more violent, and of course we're going to see that as customers and guests are in the stores witnessing these type of incidents.
And you'll see someone will come in, for instance, they have now they have glass that they've had to install that's shatterproof. They have cords on displays of earrings. These types of criminals are brazen. They'll walk in and take the whole rack. Or you have racks of Levi's. They'll not just take one or two pairs. They'll clear out the whole display. And so this is like quite different than someone coming in and stealing a pair of jeans or stealing a necklace. They're going.
Obviously, your bill is trying to address that, but in the meantime, if people do come across that, what is your recommendation?
Listen, most importantly, we want people to be safe, and so the recommendation has been to not personally interfere. And it's more for the safety of the individual and the associate at the store. And, many of these stores have a loss prevention individuals who are working on staff. It would be to, let someone know as soon as possible so they can potentially identify the person before they leave the store, see what type of vehicle they've gotten into, and begin to track them from there.
Is there a representative from JCPenney who can talk to us about how what they've seen in their store, if you have seen this type of crime?
Yes. So I'm the store manager for the JCPenney here, and like Congresswoman Lee said, when you notice it, it's large quantities. It's not one or two. It's clearing shelves or racks of merchandise, and they are very aggressive in the manner that they do it. So our job is just to collect information, obviously at a safe distance, because we don't want to disturb the way our customer is shopping or anybody else's day by trying to do something where we might ourselves get hurt or the customer as well.
When was the last time you saw this type of crime happen in your store?
Probably about 2 weeks ago, and it was Levi's.
What happened?
They were able to clear a whole entire shelf, and pretty much they don't conceal. They just come in and they take what's on the shelves, and each stack is valued at $80. So if you just do the math based on that, it's large sums of money that are walking out the door on a weekly basis.
So, and Brenda, We'll put George in here. Sorry.
Has the story covered some of the lost items since you have information to help law enforcement?
That's part of what we do as well. For instance, I work for JCPenney, but we also partner with the other retailers from NV Orca, and what we do is we collectively exchange information, share trends to see what we're seeing, what all of the retailers are seeing, and then our job is to ultimately partner with law enforcement and with the Corca bill, because what that will do is it'll help us coordinate, because what we see is we see some of these groups that will cross different states and their sole purpose is to steal in large quantities just to go ahead and resell it for profit. That's it. And so our job is to partner with law enforcement and other retailers and the Corca bill so that we can get ahead of it and then we can start recovering some of this merchandise. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I have one more question for the
Yeah.
Congresswoman. Obviously, we're at JCPenney right now, but we are in Las Vegas. We have a lot of high-end retailers here. Does this impact high-end retailers as well, or is this more small retailers?
No, it's all retailers, but I mean, we have representatives from Lowe's here, Home Depot. I mean, you've seen if you've gone into any retailer in our community, especially appliance stores where they have the cages. That's all in response to this type of crime, where they're coming in and stealing tools right off the shelf. But definitely, high end has seen it as well. It doesn't discriminate. Thank you. Thank you. Like, I didn't know I was going to be on.
It was good for a little impromptu.
Guys, get an idea what that is. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Yes. It's different. I'm famous. You want my autograph?
It's a busy Monday. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll say to go up and get your mic because it was.
It's not going to replace the felony thresholds. You're in the sun. It is completely different. That states will continue to have their laws.
Yeah.
So just if you want. You
Yeah,
don't
no,
have to.
absolutely, because I know we do have because I have talked with Metro Police about this type of crime, and obviously they've said, people will go into stores, but once they can start building the case against someone and get it above the felony, or get it above 1,200, then they can charge them with the felony.
Correct.
Yours is, well, this is going to be with 5,000. That's where I was like, so.
Yeah, and that's where the difference is the Corca bill, as we call it, the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, is going to create a threshold at the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
So at a minimum of 5,000.
Yeah.
If product is being moved across state lines, then it would make it a potential federal investigation for organized retail crime.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready. 3, 2, 1. First and last name and spell it out for me, please.
David Johnston, David Johnston.
Title position.
Vice President of Asset Protection and Retail Operations for the National Retail Federation.
And for people who may not know about the National Retail Federation, what is it?
We are the largest retail trade association here in the United States. We help support advocacy, education, and inspiration across the retail industry, supporting retailers on national issues regarding this issue, for example, crime, theft, and violence.
And I know you look at everything nationally, but here specifically in Nevada, according to our speakers, we are dealing with a big issue. So what have you been tracking?
Yeah, we track not only national levels of crime, but also across states with many of the surveys and studies that we do on behalf of our constituents. And currently, Las Vegas is ranked number 6th in retail theft crime and related organized retail crime in the nation. So what we are starting to track is an increase in the theft of retail goods, the resale of retail goods, and those from an organized retail crime group perspective.
What are you noticing nationally about this type of trend seeming to increase over the years?
It is increasing. It is not getting better. Even though we've had some successes with law enforcement at local and state levels, we are seeing that a lot of these groups are being orchestrated and directed by larger criminal organizations. These organizations can range from local or regional groups that may sell at local flea markets or online or even mom and pop stores, to even transnational criminal organizations who will take this product and profit and move it outside of our borders for resale. In addition to that, we're seeing a lot of polycriminal activity. What I mean by that is they'll go and conduct theft and get the product and profit from retail theft in order to use those monies for illegal drugs, guns, and even involve human trafficking for those people who they want to steal the goods.
Because here's the thing with this bill, you're not going after the people necessarily stealing from the stores, it's the people that they're working for.
We are going after the networks. The goal of the Combating Organized Retail Crime Bill is to get federal support and a national coordination to help local and state law enforcement and the private sector, the retailers, to collect information and intelligence to be able to learn more about the networks, then go and investigate the networks. Now, there are some instances where the people who are doing the stealing will be affected by this bill because they're the ones that are working for the organization. But the goal of this bill is not to go after those that are shoplifting for personal need or addiction or affliction. It's to get them help, but go after the criminal organizations behind a lot of these repeated thefts.
Let's talk about the threshold, because each state has their own felony threshold when it comes to items being stolen. Talk to me about this bill, what the level is, and how you're managing essentially that difference, because I know an individual person, they can build a case and be like, oh, well, looks like you did steal more than $1,200 worth of goods from maybe these 7 stores. So how is this going to be looking at it?
Yeah, this bill will not change individual state felony thresholds, nor will it change individual state laws. So local and state law enforcement will still conduct their investigations and conduct their prosecution as they normally would. But what it does is it has within the bill a $5,000 threshold, so an aggregation up to $5,000, that when individuals steal goods and take those goods over state lines, and that's whether I steal it and I take it over a state line, or I steal it and I mail it to someone over a state line, and it gets to above $5,000 in an aggregated amount of time, then it could become a federal offense. And we're looking to use that bill in order to go after, again, those groups that are causing the demand for individuals to come to Nevada, to come to Las Vegas, to steal merchandise, to then go and move that merchandise out of state to other groups and larger groups who are redistributing it back into the community.
So if you are able to arrest an individual person, are you then trying to see if they can connect you to who they are working for?
That would be the goal of an investigation. I'm not a law enforcement investigator, but our retailers are working with law enforcement on a daily basis and providing them with information of these individuals who are coming in and conducting these, what we call organized retail crime related thefts. These aren't thefts of a single item. They're when they're coming in and doing a shelf sweep of another items, or they're coming in repeatedly or stealing from multiple retailers. That information is important because the individual, again, stealing at that frequency, at that amount, is not doing it for personal need. They're being directed by someone. So the goal would be to apprehend them, to try to gain information and intelligence to get ourselves up to the next level of the organization.
And basically with this bill, it would allow all law enforcement agencies to start working together coherently?
Absolutely. We do not have a national coordinated effort. Las Vegas Metro PD may work well with local law enforcement agencies. They may work well with some regional, but it'd be very difficult for Las Vegas Metro to reach out to a Boston, a New York, or a Chicago. With this bill, it's going to provide a coordination center at the federal level within Homeland Security investigations, who are often our federal partners in this issue, to be able to collect information and intelligence where we can share it and, again, get to those networks that are orchestrating these crimes.
All right. Anything else that you'd like to add?
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to see if I can get Susie Lee.
I'm so sorry, but she has a heart out like in 1 minute.